Where are you guys all from? I'm from Australia, if you can't tell by the accent.
I'm from the middle of the United States, Kansas.
Yep, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Is it just I guess there's 4 of us here, right?
Yep, just 4 people. Yep, I think that's more than enough. Anyway, any more than that, and I don't think anyone listening could keep track of who was talking. Like most podcasts I listen to are probably 3 people. I think is the maximum. What podcasts do you guys listen to? ATP is probably my favorite one.
Yeah. I listen to the Applebite Extra Crunchy on CNET.
I listen to a lot of Hello Internet, Harmontown, Hidden Brain. I don't know if you guys heard of that one.
No, I haven't.
No, not Hidden Brain. I love Hello Internet, though.
Yeah. Hidden Brain's like an NPR thing.
Cool, yeah. Yeah, I don't listen to a whole lot of podcasts, mostly, especially not technology stuff, but did the whole Serial podcast series, and then also, what was it, Lead Singer Syndrome? I used to be in a band. This guy does interviews with a bunch of lead singers from bands and like that scene. That was really cool to listen to, but other than that, not too much. So
my idea behind this podcast was to kind of make something for the Apple subreddit. I think if we try and make content that, or talk about content that's on the subreddit, we might get a small listener base to start with. And if we all enjoy doing it and we have a small listener base, then that's probably something we could keep going from.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in it just for the fun of talking to people about Apple. If we get listeners, then that's like extra.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too. I mean, I just enjoy this stuff anyway. I'm a sysadmin by day, so I'm around technology constantly, and I just, like doing this anyway, so.
I just like being around the same people.
Anyway, should we kick things off and just go through the show notes that I put up there? A post by Evacuate titled, Apple, please give us a news app for macOS, and that we literally have an entire version of news for the watch now. It's one of the best stock apps by far, and I can't believe we haven't got it on Mac yet.
I didn't even realize it. Didn't yet until I read that. I was like, right, that's pretty crazy.
I use Apple News every day on my iPhone. I've heard rumors in the last month or so that Apple's working on unifying iOS and macOS, or at least allowing apps to run between devices. So that might be alleviated in the next year or so.
I think when iPhoto turned into Photos, it was written on some sort of hybrid between UIKit and AppKit. So my thinking is that maybe they've got some sort of formalized version of that hybrid, and they're actually waiting to rewrite a lot of these apps, like break out iTunes into news and, not news, but podcasts, music, and TV, once they've got this new framework in place.
Yeah, anywhere that they can get some continuity is going to be great, because again, if you go to iTunes on your computer and yet you go on your iPhone and it's split out between at least 2 or 3 different apps. So you kind of have to, for somebody coming into the fold of everything, they kind of have to learn 2 systems at that point.
Which I think their mobile implementation is way better, because iTunes on the Mac feels kind of bloated at this point.
They did remove some functionality from iTunes recently, though, didn't they? In one of the last updates, they ripped out a few things like iTunes U and the pretty useless mobile app store.
I believe that might have gotten added back. There was some negative feedback, and I think they added back the mobile app store.
Really?
So I always back up my stuff straight to my computer, so honestly having that there and having the ability to store my apps in iTunes whenever I want to restore my phone and not have to re-download them was pretty awesome for me, because restoring it from iCloud takes a couple hours to get everything back on there. But if I use my computer with the App Store, it takes all of, half hour or 20 minutes.
I've just gotten so frustrated dealing with iTunes, I've given up on backing up to my computer.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I use it for, because literally it's bloatware at this point. But for me to back up my phone and then to restore it pretty quickly, that's the only thing I'm using it for.
Well, I think this unified OS approach is going to come at the same time that Apple starts putting their ARM processors in Macs. I don't know how much you guys have seen the T2 chip in the Mac Pro, how much that's been handling. They're Apple's custom silicon that's been handling the encryption and camera and memory features, so the CPU is being offloaded to this secondary chip that's custom designed.
Yeah.
I think that it's only a matter of time before something like the MacBook has, custom Apple silicon instead of an Intel chip.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, their processors are years ahead of other mobile ones. So, I mean, even ahead of some of the Intel chips. So soon they can start putting them into their computers as well. It's gonna be great.
One thing I saw on the app was Fred Note. He mentioned that there was a widget but no app in other countries. That's really weird to me. Like, how could they not have the app but they even have the widget? Like, and I saw that there was legal reasons why they didn't have the app, but it was just, I found that funny that they have a widget but no app.
Yeah, it's very odd.
That is odd, because I can see where content aggregation could be hard across different countries. But clearly they're handling that if they're relaying this in the widget form.
Was Newsstand across? Was it worldwide when they had it before they replaced it with News?
I think it was limited, but more widespread than News was, because it was just subscription based. So anyone, man, I forgot all about Newsstand.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, News has been around since iOS 9, and we're on 11 now. So, and they're still not even worldwide. So I don't even know if they might even have plans to do it.
I think it might be because they want to have like an editorial team that's behind the news for each country. I know in Australia they've got that. What's that second tab in the news app? It's like the editor's curated list of all the articles that are relevant. And often I find that they're pretty Australian focused. So maybe the reason they're not in whatever countries they're not in is because there's no team there. There's no presence, like no team that's curating those stories. But it's a pretty weak excuse, I'd say, if it was that, because, I mean, the news app is, what is it really, just like a glorified RSS feeder?
Yeah, but I mean, of course, you guys all know Apple. So if it's not perfect, they're not going to do it. So and that's the thing. If they can't find a team, then they're just like, yeah, well, we're not going to put it out then.
I'm actually surprised you guys like the news app, because I typically find it's like half a day behind all the news that I've already read. Like if I see something in news, then it's something I saw on Twitter yesterday.
So the funny thing is I don't use it. I actually don't use it at all. So
most of my actual news comes from Reddit, so
Then under YouTube.
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe a news app on the TV as well might be handy. Actually, that was a comment from ZagRZZ. Imagine news on the Apple TV could act as like a secondary source to YouTube, which is already there.
I'm not sure how much I'd want to read text on my television, but if Apple had like live news built into the TV app, that's something I would use.
That's and local too. Like that's what I would. That is what I think that they could do.
Yeah, or even just articles heavily focused with video content included in them that would just play as you scroll through,
Or something like what Google does already, which is aggregate news from sources which you define. So like I've got like ABC News and CNET News, so I could ask Google and it will actually play news clips from those sources, which is a pretty cool way of doing it. And it's as easy to do it with video, I suppose, as is with audio.
What Google product is that aggregates all that?
That's just the Google Home Mini. So I'll just say, okay, blah, blah, give me the news, and it will read out those sources in whatever order I define.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Apple's going to do with the HomePod.
I don't have very much hope for that. Like, they're so late, and it's expensive, and over Christmas time, the Alexa was $30 compared to, what is it? Like 200 something for the HomePod, and it's so limited.
Someone's got an Alexa.
People said the same thing about the Apple Watch. It was too expensive, it was too late, and now it's basically the only smartwatch that's selling. So
yeah, I mean, but that has something else to do with. I mean, anything before that was kind of a pebble. So it came around and was almost first of its kind. I mean, I wouldn't say it definitely was. It wasn't the first of its kind, but it was definitely something that somebody could gravitate towards to use a lot more than something else. Whereas with the HomePod, there's already everything out and it's already going to do everything that it does. That it's not really anything quite new. It's just Apple branded.
Well, if they seem to be marketing it more as a high-end speaker with Siri built in, then
Yeah, they all have, every single smart speaker has their own category where they shine. With Google, it's data. With Alexa, there's a few things, but I think mostly smart home. And with HomePod, I think it could definitely be sound.
Yeah, I could see that.
The only real competitor on the sound base is probably Sonos and their integration with whoever they can integrate with.
Right. So, and I'm not sure how many people will do this, but if you own multiple HomePods, they'll connect to each other and create like a stereo environment. So,
and Siri also is just not up there with all the other ones too. So
that's the biggest limiting factor right now.
Shall we move on to the next topic, which is a post by Applejuice 1984. Public service announcement: you are almost out of time to get AppleCare. So, if you bought your iPhone 10 in the launch week, then you're probably out of luck by now. But any other time in the launch month, then there's probably still a chance for you to get AppleCare. And if you're looking for any motivation to get AppleCare, you just need to look at the repair pricing for the iPhone 10, which is pretty crazy, especially compared to some of the other phones. I mean, $549, I think that's US dollars for like anything that's not the screen is madness. It's like a whole new phone almost 5 years ago.
I mean, my policy when buying new iPhones every year, I just automatically get the Apple Care now. It's saved me so many times just a $30 to get the screen replaced or something. Because I personally hate using cases. I think it ruins the design of the phone. So I just pay the extra for Apple Care and don't worry about a case.
Yeah, I do the exact same every year. I started getting Apple Care when I got the iPhone, I think 6, and haven't looked back since every time I get them. Because again, I'm the same way. I hate using a case. So Apple Care has been a godsend.
Who here has the iPhone 10?
I do.
I do.
Yeah, I do too.
Who'd have thought a bunch of Apple enthusiasts have the newest phone?
Yes, I've actually just decided to be really careful with it and not use a case. I've only ever broken one iPhone, which is the iPhone 6, and I actually broke it 3 times, which really, really annoyed me.
Oh, wow.
Did you bend it?
No, it never bent. I didn't have the 6 Plus, which was really prone to bending. So, yeah, twice the screen just broke just from dropping it. One of those times was actually 2 weeks after I'd had the whole unit replaced as well, that was really annoying. And I was forced to use cases for my 6S and 7, but I don't know, the iPhone 10 just looks so good. I've got the white one, so like those chrome edges around the side, I can't hide them.
I'm really regretting not getting white, actually. I've always got black because I wanted the black front on my iPhones, and so I just got the black model again out of habit this year, but I think white looks...
I got the black, and I wasn't sure if I would regret it or not, but I'm still happy with it.
Yeah, I got the black as well, just again out of habit because same reason, just wanted the black front. So when the screen's off, it just looks seamless. But yeah, no, I'm still happy with it though.
So the top comment on this post by Donut is that feeling when you're still in the EU and you get 2 years for free. But that's a little bit misleading because that's not going to cover something like a broken screen.
Right, that's not accidental damage.
Yeah, exactly, accidental damage. I was curious what you guys get in the US because here what we get is basically 1 year defined by Apple coverage, but the consumer law states that they kind of have to cover it for as long as the minimum the phone is expected to last, which is 2 years. So we actually get 2 years coverage, and for laptops and computers, it's actually 3 years, which is pretty cool. So that's not for damage, but that's for things failing, batteries mainly.
We don't really have any consumer protection laws here. It's mostly whatever the company offers us. So we get Apple's 1 year, but the government doesn't force them to do anything above that.
Right. I mean, even if they wanted to not give us the 1 year, that's their prerogative. There's no laws against it.
The Apple Care Plus, that gives you 2, right?
Isn't it 2 years on top of the first 1 year?
No, it just extends it for another year.
No, it extends it to 2 years.
Right, okay.
So if I go and buy an iPhone in Australia and then come back here, do I also get 2 years, or is that...
If it fails, I think you have to bring it back to Australia.
All right, so probably not worth it then. Maybe I can go to Canada.
I don't know, maybe if you're paying $549 for out of warranty repair, you might be able to find a flight to Australia for that as well.
Yeah, it's very true.
How about this security problem, or the what's it called, Meltdown and Spectre? I was actually thinking earlier, it's actually not a bad time for this to come out in the press. I mean, I know these tech companies have probably known about it for a little while already because it's fixed in 10.13.2, which is the current release. So Apple's already known about it. But I was thinking this morning that the tech press is no longer talking about slow iPhones. They're all talking about Spectre and Meltdown. So it's not a bad time for Apple.
Yeah, I mean, there's been musings about it. I also subscribe to RSysAdmin, and they've been talking about it probably for the past month or so because the guys who found it have kind of just been rumoring about what it is, and some people have kind of speculated. But yeah, now that it's finally here, it was mostly about Meltdown. It wasn't too much talk about the other, I think 2, Spectre, and I think there's another one as well, a third one. But yeah, I mean, scary stuff that affects, every single computer, almost everything with a processor in it is going to be affected by Spectre. But Meltdown is more geared towards just Intel-based things, so it's not much as scary, but there's still the fix is still just a band-aid on a bullet wound because it's hardware related. So to really fix it, you're going to have to swap a chip out, which means you're probably going to have to end up buying a new computer because anything you do at the OS level can be worked around, or that's where the hackers are now going to go and look at these fixes, and they're going to be their first attack vector. So
And it's not like it's just as easy as swapping a chip. It's that we need to come up with a new design for processors, manufacture those first. So it's not like every processor released after this is going to have that fixed. It just comes down to we're kind of bad at making processors right now. Although if we just switch to quantum computers, this won't be a problem anymore.
Are your local tech stores selling those yet? They haven't hit Australia.
Yeah, we're a couple years ahead here. So.
Yeah, I've got a super chill room in my basement. Just going to keep it real cool. It'll be fine.
Yeah, 0 degrees Kelvin. Sure. Just take a back step. Kevin Strat 27 asks, "Can someone explain like I'm 5, please?" So I did try and put it into a single sentence. What's happening? So basically, researchers have figured out a way to exploit the method in which CPUs speculatively perform operations ahead of what the CPU has actually been asked to perform. I don't know if a 5-year-old is going to understand that, but that's the best I could do.
I don't know how to simplify it more than that.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good.
All right, thanks. LJOD asks, is it only available for High Sierra? And as far as I can tell, yes. I've read through Apple's advisory notice, and there's just the lines in there about it already being fixed in 10.13.2, and I think already the latest version of iOS as well. But I didn't see anything about them patching older OSs, and what would be their responsibility?
Well, they don't have an official policy as far as security updates go, but it's been the general practice for, 5 years or so, that they support the most recent 3 OSs with security updates. So theoretically, what was the last 3? Sierra and El Capitan, I believe, should still be receiving security updates.
Yeah, there's been no official word. But yeah, that's usually what they do. I still have security updates coming down for Sierra that people haven't installed at my work yet. God forbid something else happens here. But yeah, we're not really ready for High Sierra. There's just been some minor issues, but that's just with Apple in general because they don't like to work in a Windows environment. But yeah, we're definitely not ready to upgrade everybody. So definitely hoping that they release something.
I'm hearing that a lot about people not upgrading to High Sierra. Are there like a line of business applications that you guys are stuck using on Sierra?
So it's not really business application, but more general functionality. So with the original release of High Sierra 10.13.0, if you try to reset your Active Directory password locally, it would reset it, I believe, on the server, but not locally. So as soon as you try to log back on, it still wouldn't reset itself. And then I've had other issues. I think 10.13.1 and even on 10.13.2 now is you still same kind of thing. If you change your password locally, it does update the server and your computer. But if you have File Vault enabled, it doesn't change the File Vault password. So as soon as you restart the computer, it's still using your old password, and then you try to get in, and it doesn't log you all the way in because it's not your current one. So just a couple of those little swats there.
And I had all sorts of problems with File Vault. I upgraded my wife's laptop. At one point, what Apple did, I think this was El Capitan, was suggest that you have the same... No, it let you use your Apple ID password to unlock your Mac, but as of High Sierra, they don't allow that anymore. So it forced me to change it when I upgraded to High Sierra, but that didn't update the File Vault password. So now there are 2 passwords to get into the Mac, and then that started bringing in all sorts of problems with keychain not being unlocked when logging onto the computer. It was like a day process. Actually, I had to decrypt the entire volume and re-encrypt it in the end. So this took 48 hours.
Yeah, that's what I had to do on 10.13.1 while I was testing out myself because it didn't update it. So I literally had to decrypt my entire computer to then update that password. It was a nightmare.
That's why I generally just try to do clean installs. I've pushed everything up to iCloud now, and I don't have anything stored locally, so I just do a wipe and a clean install of OSs every year.
Yeah, I'm pretty much at that point too. I think the only thing I really have to install once I get a new computer, for instance, is just the apps. Everything else is in the cloud. And if you get as much stuff as possible from the App Store instead of, through a browser, it's pretty simple. You just go through the list of purchased things, click install, come back 5 hours later and your Mac's as you left it.
Yeah.
I have run into some weird glitches where iCloud just won't download everything for me. And it takes sometimes up to a week before it finally straightens out getting all my files back on new machines.
And I have the opposite. Mine is really proactive at downloading as much crap as it can from iCloud, even old stuff, like an old YouTube video I made 3 years ago. It's suddenly okay, I need this stored locally now, and I'll go and download a 1 gig file.
Yeah, I have the same problem with iCloud. It's just so slow. Does everything.
Yeah, I wish I was that fortunate. I do a lot of music and video editing, so I can't really put everything up in the cloud. Still, most of the stuff I have backed up onto a terabyte hard drive. So, but I still haven't had many OS issues where I haven't been burned where I feel like I need to do a clean install at any point. I'm sure my computer would work a lot better, possibly, but yeah, just having everything there it's been great.
So how about this post by Busy Mum Zero, who found a scam dating app called One Night Stand Adult Hookup Tonight, making $200K per month, and it had 70,000 reviews on the App Store since September last year.
What was it? The thing it said about Apollo? It had something in Apollo that said that even the Apollo Reddit client doesn't even have that many 5-star reviews. I think it was like 3,100 reviews were 5-star, and like out of like 3,800 reviews total, and then with this there was like 67,000 5-star reviews. Like, this was just insane.
I mean, I think this has always been a problem on the App Store, but it's never been as big of an issue as like the Google Play Store. Aren't these all manually reviewed by a person? Like, doesn't someone have to look at these apps?
Yeah, they're supposed to be.
I just don't understand how this would even get past a person who's actually looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine how many app submissions there are a day and how deeply they're looking into it, besides maybe even just installing it and opening it and then closing it. You know, I have no idea what their actual review process is.
Because there are times where, like, in the past where, like, a jailbreak app has just gotten through. Like, I think to myself, like, how did that get through? Because sometimes it's just the most obvious thing. Like, you turn on the app and it says jailbreak now. Like, that is just, how did they clearly had to not have actually opened the app before they approved it.
And then there are those things like the unlimited Spotify apps. Like, surely Apple, like the reviewers, have heard of Spotify and know that like some random app publisher offering unlimited Spotify for like an $8 app is not legitimate. How hidden do you have to be from society to not realize that?
Were you guys on the App Store early on in about 2008?
Yeah.
Do you remember the very first junk app, the I Am Rich?
No, I don't.
No.
It is $1,000 app.
Oh, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
goodness.
And you opened it up and it was just a picture of a ruby. And 7 people bought it before it got pulled.
It was literally just to show your stature. Like, I paid $1,000 for this app, and this is all it does.
Just like the Apple Watch edition, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You know, it's like $3K to have an out-of-warranty service on the Apple Watch edition.
Really?
Yeah, I was reading about it earlier, and that's crazy. I don't know what it costs there, but I think the top one is like $24,000 here. I'm talking about Series 0, like the gold ones.
Yeah.
So you've got like $20,000 watch. It probably doesn't last all day on the battery, and it's extremely slow. And then you take it into Apple, and they're like, actually, it'll cost you $3,000 for a repair.
I don't know. If you can pay that much for a watch, maybe it doesn't matter to you.
How much was Apple Care? And is it less to get it replaced? Is it $1,500?
I don't know. I would hope so.
Oh, I don't know.
I bet Apple Care for that was probably a couple grand.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, what if you like scratch some of the gold off? Like, they've got to replace that gold.
Yeah, that was accidental. I get 2 of those.
Well, it's solid gold. I don't think it was plated. I mean, yeah, you scratch gold off and you just lost like $1,000. So...
Yeah, Apple sends you home. They're like, no, you need all the little flakes of gold that came off as well. We need those.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did just look. It was $1,000 for Apple Care.
Oh, wow.
$79 for the regular one,
I mean, I can't imagine
yeah,
it
and
sold very
$59
well.
for the sport. But I mean, again, how much? What a 10 grand watch? I guess you wouldn't care if you spent another grand to have it protected.
I mean, yeah, you'd be probably not very smart to not get the protection on a $10,000 watch.
Right.
It really makes me think this gold watch is just a publicity stunt by Apple, especially now that the edition watches are just ceramic watches. I think they're still a few $1,000s, but like nowhere near what the gold one was. And I think the ceramic ones will look better and wear better too.
Well, when it first came out, they were pushing really hard as like a luxury jewelry item, and they've seemed to have stepped back from that and made it more as like a fitness device.
Do you guys own Apple Watches?
I have one.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I had one. I had the original Series 0 one, but I ended up getting tattoos on my wrist, so I haven't worn it in the past year, and I feel really bad because it's just sitting in a drawer and wasn't cheap by any means. So I should probably start wearing it again, but yeah.
There was an issue for a while where tattoos would interfere with the heart rate monitor. I don't know if that's still a problem or not.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I got it on the underside, the bottom, so it shouldn't be too bad. But definitely, if you got it on the top, I think it is an issue.
Yeah, I'm kind of a sucker for Apple products. I pretty much own the latest version of whatever they make. So
yeah, it was an expensive year, wasn't it? I'm kind of glad the HomePod isn't out yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my wallet sighed in relief. I don't really use the Apple Watch as more than like a glorified notification screen. I don't have any good apps for it or anything.
I occasionally, like every time, forget to turn it on when going on a walk or something.
I really use the fitness aspects of it mostly. Yeah, I try and turn it on whenever I've got a walk going. But probably the favorite feature is the cellular data on the Series 3, because now I don't even take my phone when I'm going on a walk, and I can still get messages and things, and down at the shops, and I'm still getting messages from home like, don't forget to buy the bread or the milk or whatever.
The thing about the Series 3, that's like underrated, is that it now can have Siri talk to you, because it has that much power now inside of it that it can do all that. And I think, especially in the beginning with the first Apple Watch, how it was so slow and still extremely slow now, at the point it is now, I think that's a big step to where it's finally a good product for anyone that wants to use it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good measure of the progress that Apple's come in creating the silicon for the Apple Watch. Although I personally kind of prefer Siri to be quiet. Yeah, they've come a long way in terms of performance, because I remember the Series 0 really chugged to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, I love my Series 0, but after not having it for a while, I haven't really missed it that much. I don't think it's quite worth the money, but I mean, again, because I still only use it for generally just notifications, so I don't have to pull my phone out. So paying that much for another one probably I won't do again, but I definitely enjoyed it.
Would you see yourself using the cellular watch, though, a little bit more, like if you didn't even have your phone with you?
I mean, maybe, but again, still generally, like most of the stuff I wanted to do on it, like if I miss a notification because I don't have my phone with me, or I miss a text or something, it's not the end of the world. It would be really cool if I could actually reply back and type on something without having to speak it out to the world.
Have you seen the Scribble feature?
Yeah, I used it. It's not the greatest, and especially because you have to do letter by letter to type out even more than just like a quick reply is probably not really worth it.
So the most efficient way that I've come across this is you scribble the first couple letters, and then if you scroll the digital crown, it'll do autocomplete and like predictive.
Yeah. A lot of people. The thing is, that's not known like very well at all.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. So
there's no indication that it's there.
There are two little arrows just to the right of the text field, but you're right, no one knows it there, because I actually forgot it was there since the Series 0, and I rediscovered it last week and posted it on the Apple Watch subreddit, and I got like 3.5k upvotes, so clearly no one else knew it was there.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
really? Wow.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of stuff like that. I mean, there's kind of hidden away, tucked away, like really useful things that nobody on Apple's end really tells anybody. Just some random user ends up finding it and then tells the world about it.
Yeah, it seems to be how Apple's always handled their products, though. There's always these super useful features tucked away that they don't tell anyone about.
Plenty of features in watchOS 1 and 2 were hidden under Force Touch, but they've pulled back from that a lot. Like a lot of those Force Touch features are not there or discoverable some other way in the UI now.
Right. I think I missed the most from the original couple watchOSs was now we can send these, I don't know what they're called, the scribble messages where we draw a little picture through iMessage itself. But I liked how immediate it was that I could just pick a contact and tap their wrist or something quickly instead of having to compose a message to them. It made Apple Watch feel a little more exclusive.
Yeah, the side button, how it would pull up that little... It was like some sort of dial where you would dial around the other friends with an Apple Watch. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I had no friends that had Apple Watches at the time, though, so I didn't get to use it, but...
Does anyone remember from the original Apple Watch keynote, they actually said that it was going to have a walkie-talkie feature?
I do, yeah.
Talk to other people who had Apple Watches, but they never came to fruition.
That would have been so cool, especially if everyone in your house, like, I don't know, but if you could just broadcast a message to everyone, like dinner time or time to go to bed or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of make a day out of it whenever there's an Apple keynote. Take off from work if I can. And
You guys are lucky. Every Apple keynote is at 2 a.m. my time.
Oh man,
yeah, that would be.
I just go
I'd
brazen
still do
and
it,
watch
though.
it at work. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
just have it on a second screen.
yeah. If I can get away with it,
Either that, or I mean, I enjoy it and I enjoy looking at them, but I won't take the day off. But if I come home, I'll end up watching it, because especially since they brought it to the Apple TV, they have their own app, and you can
Yeah.
just pull it up and watch through it. So
that's what I've been doing. But it's not quite the same without Steve Jobs. Not as exciting as it used to be. Although this year, in the Steve Jobs Theater, it was a pretty cool intro. At least they did. I'm totally like lost now. What topic
right.
were we talking about?
We were talking about that scam app.
Oh,
for One
how
Night
did we
Stand.
get from this? to
So
that?
yeah, just back on that, I was wondering, like, how easy should it be for users to report these sorts of apps? Because I had a look. Actually, one of the users asked that. Mike asked, "Can you report an app on iOS?" So I went looking. The only thing I could find was in the receipt email from the iTunes store. There is a little report link underneath each app that you've purchased. But once you go to that page and you have to sign in with your Apple ID, the only option that was really suitable for like reporting a spammy app was called "doesn't function as expected." And then that just directs you to the app developer's website. So that's not something that Apple's ever going to get. The only other thing I could think of was just to send reports into the black hole that is Apple's feedback page.
Is this app still up right now, or is it gone?
yeah, I was just looking for it myself just to see, but I don't see it here. But yeah, I think more of the issue is like, I mean, they let a lot of junk apps through, and nobody even really bats an eye because they don't really see the light of day. But to have it number 26 out of the top 50, and you can just kind of wind up getting to it, is a bit of a problem. At least have a team going through and looking through the top 50 to be like, all right, so this is here. So what is this exactly? Maybe we missed this on review and take another look at it or something.
Yeah, and they've tried to with this new app store get away from having the top lists be the main focus and more of their today view, where they aggregate whatever apps they think are new and exciting for people. Because I mean, honestly, the top apps have been the same for years now. At least like the top 10. So
I'm really liking the new App Store. It's like before iOS 11, it was something I pretty rarely visited. But now I find I'm checking it like I would check Twitter or Facebook.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's been a positive change.
Yeah, for sure.
The last thing we had to talk about was is a pretty funny topic. So Tenappa, he went to the Apple Store to get his battery replaced, paid $30, and had the privilege of Apple removing the battery, then putting the same battery back into the phone. Which is, I don't know.
Again, funny for us, but probably a nightmare for him.
Yeah, no, did you see he was like there from like, I don't know what it was like 8 to like 4 in the afternoon, only for that to happen.
Yeah, 10:30 a.m. to 4 p.m.
It's such a waste of time. But another user, Lark, said the same thing happened to him a few months ago. So it makes you wonder, either there are a lot of geniuses making mistakes or there was some sort of policy. But I find it really, really hard to believe that this would possibly be a policy, especially after all the bad press recently around batteries and iPhones.
Yeah, there's no way that's a policy. I'm torn between, was it a mistake or just a lazy
Yeah.
employee that didn't even bother to take the battery out, just like took it to the back room, and then I don't know, maybe it got handed off to someone else and they thought it was done and the phone got brought back out.
Yeah, I mean, the best defense that I can come up with here is just the sheer number of people trying to get batteries replaced right now.
Yes, that's insane.
And just kind of, you know what I mean? Just kind of losing track of it.
I mean, this is a Bay Area Apple store as well, so they're always packed, like shoulder to shoulder.
I mean,
in
any
there,
Apple store you
so.
go into, it's packed. There's at least 80 people from open to close. You can never go in there and be like, oh my God, there's only one person in here. That never happens.
Yeah, but I mean, Apple in the past, and I believe still, has had above average customer service, so I'm willing to write this off as a mistake in my mind.
Yeah.
If anything, to me, it just shows that you should probably run some sort of your own diagnostics on your battery before you go in. Coconut battery is the only one I know of, really, but it's really good. Once I had a relative whose phone was running out of battery like really quickly, so I ran coconut battery, found it was at 49%, took it into the Apple store, but their diagnostics actually said it was at 83%, and they were refusing to replace the battery. But I actually had a screenshot, thankfully, of coconut battery, and they accepted that as enough evidence to replace it under warranty.
Wow. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I've never really run into an issue with this before because I get the new phones every year, but like how often is this an issue? Like within the 2-year period, your battery's going to become unusable? Or are we talking this is like iPhone 6?
Yeah,
is the issue?
it's like 500 charges is what they rate it at until it's probably going to hit that. So, I mean, if you're charging it every night, then yeah, I mean, you're looking at a year and a half, pretty much.
It's a 500 cycles, isn't it? Not charges.
Yeah, sorry.
What's everyone's opinions on Apple slowing down the phone to preserve battery versus just letting the phone die at like 20%?
There was plenty of evidence before then, but this was just confirming it all, I feel like.
I mean, I kind of agree with it. I mean, it probably should have been definitely more apparent that it was happening, or to let somebody decide whether they want their phone to randomly shut off or for it to slow down, and maybe give them a choice. But if you guys ever, have you ever watched Unbox Therapy on YouTube?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so one of his videos, latest one, he pulled out an old iPhone 6 that had iOS 9, was still running iOS 9, and while he was trying to, perform some tests about this exact issue, he had his phone crash on him, 3 or 4 times. So that could just be what you're using it for,
Even on the Apple subreddit, people used to complain a lot about their phones shutting off at like 15%.
I had that problem a lot.
So, I mean, no one's going to be happy. It's going to be one issue or the other here.
Right.
I think the biggest issue was the lack of transparency. Like, they didn't, like, if someone were to go into the Apple store, like, they knew this was going on, but they just wouldn't tell them.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say the Apple Store employees were in the know.
Yeah, but that's still also Apple's fault for not making sure the Apple Store employees knew, too.
Right. Again, even just saying, going in there and like, my phone is slow, you're not immediately going to think, hey, I need a new battery.
Yeah.
You're going to think, I need a new phone, or something else is going on. You're not going to equate a slowness or something to the battery itself. So even if they just would have told people when they took it in, like, hey, my phone's been running slow, it's iPhone 6, they could at least been like, okay, well, let me look at the battery, because I know that's probably the issue.
Yeah, even the most tech-savvy user is not going to connect battery and performance, are they? Until now.
Yeah, I would never have thought to link those two.
Although, I think maybe a less tech-savvy average phone user wouldn't necessarily equate, hey, my phone's shutting off at 20%. I can just get a new battery. They're probably still going to think I still need a new phone.
Yeah, true.
I don't know what the average user is, but like I know from my parents, for example, still use the iPhone 4S.
Oh, wow.
And they're perfectly happy with it, even though, it takes them 3 minutes to open the phone app.
My brother actually went from an iPhone 5 running iOS 10 to like an iPhone 4 running iOS 7. And I think the iPhone 4 is actually faster than the 5 because it's running such an old version of iOS.
I thought iOS 7 really slowed down the iPhone 4.
Yeah, I might have my iOS versions mixed up actually. It could be like a 4S running iOS 7 or a 4 running iOS 6. I don't know. But anyway.
Yeah, the 6 was the last version with the skeuomorphic design from...
Alright, it's definitely iOS 7 then that he's running. But it's not slow on whatever phone he's got, which is amazing.
I mean, I still personally think the iPhone 4S was like one of the better iPhone designs. The stainless steel and glass, I'm glad they brought it back on the iPhone 10.
Yeah, even if it's a little bit more fragile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only ever remember breaking the backs on those phones, and those were like 2 little screws to undo, and you could just replace the back yourself. I was living the dream of repairability.
Yeah.
Except if you broke the screen, you had to take every component out of the iPhone 4S because the screen was the last piece. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
the front was the worst. You just had to hope the back smashed.
I knew so many people during that time period that so many times broke the front and the back. 2, I think, were family. So.
Oh, really? Yeah. Glass breaks. That's not new.
Wait,
news
what?
to anyone.
You serious? Breaking news.
Yeah.
Was that a pun?
I was just thinking the same.
First bad pun of the podcast. Yay.
You're welcome.
It took us that long.
Yeah, I'm surprised we made it this far.
Are there any other topics you guys want to talk about, or we could probably wrap this up?
Yeah, not too much. I don't think there was anything really relevant going on.
I think that was it.